Hi there. Welcome to Module 3 of the Unitrends Fundamental course. This module is going to be entirely about recovery. By the end of this module, you're going to be able to explain the Unitrends file level, hypervisor, and application recovery options. You're going to be able to describe Unitrends bare metal capabilities. You're going to explain how Unitrends Instant Recovery works, and you're going to be able to describe the recovery assurance capabilities at a very high level. Let's get started. In the last module, we talked about the different ways you can back up your data center. Now, we're going to talk about the most important part, recovery. The only thing that really matters in backup is recovery. We go through the effort of making all these backups so that we can actually recover if anything goes wrong, or rather when anything goes wrong. As we discussed in Module 2, Unitrends backs up at three main levels: the file level, the hypervisor, and the application level. With Unitrends, we can help you recover all sorts of different things within your data center, such as files, servers, applications, virtual machines, directories, and much more. We're going to dive in and look at the different things we can recover and how. File level backups can be selectively restored to the same or to different locations. You could choose to restore a single file, certain files or directories, or even the entire disk with a file level backup. You can then take the different things you want to recover and recover them back to the original server, to a different server, or you can host those files on the Samba share right there on the appliance and grab the files as needed. Unitrends even offers the possibility to search for certain files to restore. You can go in and search by file type or by name, and Unitrends will search through all the backups that are on the appliance and tell you which backup you need to restore to be able to recover those files. Alternatively, Unitrends even goes a step further and will search through all of the backup copies you've made that contain that file. It'll then tell you which backup copy to restore if it's been sent to a tape or a disk, and then you can grab that media, pull it back into the appliance, and you'll be able to recover those files. We're going to discuss backup copies in detail later in Module 4. With virtual machine backups, you can quickly and easily recover the entire snapshot or just certain files within it. So if you want to recover that file, you're going to simply go in and Unitrends will automatically mount that snapshot as the directory as a CIF share on the Unitrends appliance. You can then go in and find the file you want to recover, save it wherever you need. Alternatively, and probably more likely, you're going to want to recover that entire snapshot. And we have two main options for recovering that snapshot. We can recover it normally, just like a snapshot, send it to the storage and spin it up within that hypervisor host, or we can perform some versions of instant recovery, which we'll talk about in a second. The good thing to note is that you don't have to send it back to the same host. You can send it to a different host, it just has to be of the same hypervisor. So if you have a VMware snapshot backup, you're going to have to recover that back to another ESXi host. Application databases can be recovered really easily, and for some applications, individual items can even be restored utilizing a program called curl. So for the full database, you need to again send it back to a same or similar application server. We can't send SQL backups to an Oracle server, but you can send the SQL backups to a different SQL server, which is most likely the case if you need to recover that SQL backup. You simply go into the Unitrends interface and very easily you can be able to select which backup you want to recover and where to. Alternatively, we even offer that granular recovery with Exchange and SharePoint utilizing a product called Kroll OnTrack. With Kroll, you can go in and search for individual items that you want to restore. You simply mount it on the Unitrends appliance, utilize the Kroll software, go in and search for that email or that specific SharePoint item, and then from there you're going to be able to recover it to your current up and running SharePoint or Exchange server. It's really great and easy to use, and it's completely supported by Unitrends, even though it's a third-party product. With Unitrends bare metal, you can quickly recover an entire server from a catastrophic failure. Normally, the way to recover a server that has had a catastrophic failure is you need to get a new server, or even the old server, and you're going to have to start fresh, which means you're going to have to install a new operating system, update the operating system to the compatible version you were using, install the applications, and then update said applications to the version you were using before to make sure compatibility is no longer an issue. And then you're going to have to recover all the files that you had on the backup. After that lengthy process, you're going to have the server back up and running that you did before. With Unitrends bare metal technology, however, though, What we can do is we can build out an ISO image of your operating system and the applications. Simply restore that image to the new hardware or the same hardware. It'll install the operating system and those applications just like it was when you ran that backup, and then recover the files. That server is going to be back up and running much quicker and much easier. You're not going to have to deal with installations over and over again. You're very quickly and simply going to be able to have that server back up and running and serving the applications like it should be. For more information on which operating systems can perform this bare metal recovery feature, see the compatibility matrix for more details. For Windows bare metal recoveries, the hardware can even be dissimilar. What that means is that you can recover what was once on an HP server to a Dell server as long as it's Windows. And the way that works is because using the integrated bare metal image, we're able to build out the bare metal image onto the new dissimilar hardware, and then with Windows we can actually inject the drivers that the new hardware has. From there, we then recover the files like a normal bare metal backup, and then you're ready to go and have that server back up and running, performing all the application functions that you needed before. So we've shown a lot of ways to be able to recover information and even servers. But what if RTO is really important and you need downtime to be as short as possible? Unitrends can help you get back up and running utilizing instant recovery technology. For VMware instant recovery, let's assume that the host fails and we need to get that virtual machine back up and running. What Unitrends can do is Unitrends can then spin up the virtual machine from a snapshot utilizing another host. So in this instance, Unitrends attaches to that ESXi host 2 as the storage, which means that VM can be back up and running in less than 5 minutes, but on that tier 2 storage. Once that VM is up and running, Unitrends is going to migrate that snapshot to the production storage so that you can get the better performance that's attached to that host. Once it's over there, Unitrends will then switch to utilizing the local storage, which is going to be the better performing, all automatically within VMware, and you're going to be back up and running like nothing went wrong. Once you need to back that up again, run another snapshot backup or utilize vCenter to migrate that VM back to the original host. For Hyper-V Instant Recovery, the function is pretty much the same. If a host fails, Unitrends is going to then be able to connect to another Hyper-V host, utilizing the Unitrends as the data store. Once the VM is connected and powered on, Unitrends is going to migrate the snapshot using live migration. Once all the data is at the Hyper-V host, it then switches to utilizing that storage instead and cuts off the Unitrends storage. It's going to be better performing storage, whatever's connected to that host, and you're going to have that functionality back up and running. So the VM is going to be able to be on much easier, but performance will be degraded until you migrate to the production storage. For Windows Instant Recovery, you can actually utilize the Unitrends appliance to host the Windows server. So what that means is, let's say I have a Windows physical server failure. What Unitrends can do is, from the most recent backup, Unitrends can build a standby virtual clone of that physical server. Something to note, this can be done before or after an incident. If it's done before, you're going to be able to be up and running much quicker, whereas if you have to build out the image from the backup, it might take a little longer. Once the failures occurred, you can have the Unitrends serve as the virtual host for the failover Windows client. That means it's going to be hosted within the KVM environment of that Unitrends appliance. Note, this is only possible for the Unitrends Recovery Series appliance. Once the server is repaired or you brought in a new server, run a final file level backup of the failover client, build out a new ISO image, and recover that server just like new. Let's say though you don't want to utilize your Unitrends Recovery Series appliance to host the Unitrends backup, or you're using UB within VMware, Linux, or Hyper-V. What you can do is you can actually utilize an existing environment to host that Windows Instant Recovery. So again, with a failure, before or after the incident, you can build a standby virtual client. And after a failure occurs, you can have that Hyper-V or VMware host that Windows client as a virtual machine in case of those emergencies. Once you bring back up that server or it's been repaired, you run again another file level backup, build out a new image, and recover the Windows physical server just like it was when it was running within that virtual environment. You can leverage the power of instant recovery to actually test your backups without needing to take up space in your production environment or fully recover. Because your backup storage can be leveraged to instantly recover your Windows servers, your VMware VMs, or Hyper-V VMs, you can actually spin up any of those options in audit mode, so you can actually test the backups at any point without interrupting your production environment. So for Hyper-V, you simply point it to a Hyper-V host, utilize your Unitrends appliance as your backup storage, and you can test it in audit mode, so you can be sure that your backup was successful because you can see the recovery performance of that virtual machine. Alternatively, with your Windows file level backup, what you can do is you can spin that up on your Recovery Series appliance or leverage VMware Hyper-V to spin up that physical server as a virtual machine to test its functionality. That way you can be certain that your backup was successful because you can see the recovery of that server. You know that if you're able to utilize it, that the backup was good. You can also do this with VMware. Same idea, take that VMware snapshot, attach it to a VMware host, and then make sure it's not connected to the network, and you can watch and see that that VM is good and functioning in that audit mode. This is a quick and easy way to ensure your backups are successful, and most importantly, that your recovery is possible. Now, it might not be possible to recover and audit mode test every single VMware, Hyper-V, or Windows physical server. So that's where Unitrends has a feature called Recovery Assurance, and it comes into play here. So you can automate testing your backups with Recovery Assurance to find out exactly how long recovery will take. Using the Recovery Assurance feature with Reliable DR, you can tap into your backups and test recovery at the application level. You then get reports exactly how long those backups will take to recover in an emergency scenario, since the backups are tested for recovery all the way to application performance. So here, for example, you can test your Hyper-V snapshots automatically in the audit mode using Reliable DR. This is done so that you don't actually need to utilize your production storage. And the tests are done automatically all the way down to the application level. So I know for certain that my SQL server is going to be able to function, or that my Exchange emails are working, or I can ping out to a host, and all this done without impacting production, network, or performance. Alternatively, you can do the same thing with your VMware snapshots. You can set it up in audit mode with Reliable DR. It's going to spin up that snapshot, test at that application level, and make sure it's not going to utilize the production storage or the production network. It's going to be hosted on the Unitrends storage, but with the VMware host. You can even test the Windows Instant Recovery capabilities of your backups. This means that the Recovery Assurance can go in, perform a pseudo Windows Instant Recovery, keeping it in audit mode so it's not connected to any networks. It'll be hosted within your VMware Hyper-V. It'll keep the snapshot there if you need to recover, but it's going to be certain that the applications can function that you need from that Windows server. So, by now, you should be able to explain the Unitrends file level, hypervisor, and application recovery options. You're going to be able to describe the Unitrends bare metal capabilities, how the different instant recovery options works for VMware, Hyper-V, and Windows, and you even have a high-level understanding of recovery assurance, being able to test your backups to make sure that they can recover automatically. Thanks so much for joining. Tune in to Module 4, where we're going to talk about what you can do more with your backups.